Browsers are our interface with the outside world. They're our source of information and provide us with handy apps and tools. So let's build our own to make them slightly better. That's a tall order, and you might ask where we would start. If you go on YouTube and look for building your own browsers, you'll see a bunch of Python and C# tutorials. These tutorials use Qt and Web Engine in the case of Python, or Windows Forms and Ceph in the case of C#. These browsers are all well and good as learning projects, and I'm not saying you shouldn't try them, but despite what their thumbnails suggest, they really aren't competent enough to use as a daily driver. This devlog will go over the process of me building our own browser with common features like add-ons, bookmarks, and profile syncs. Well, we aren't going to implement all of those features, but instead we're going to inherit them from Firefox. It is the industry standard for new browsers to be created from forks of either Firefox or Chromium. You've probably heard of some of these, for example, Brave, Clix, Ghostery, or Microsoft Edge. Unlike Chromium, there are only really two tools that are used for creating Firefox forks, Melon and Fern.js. Fern.js is the tool that's used by Ghostery New Dawn and is basically locked to that product. Melon is the tooling used by .browser, and I have recently ported it into an npm package, making it more reusable. I am more familiar with it, and it's more readily available to other users, although it is in alpha, so I'll be using it for this project. So I created a new project and pushed it up to GitHub. The first thing I want to do is give the browser its own custom theme to make it look unique. Firefox UI is created with a mix of XHTML, HTML but with more strict XML styling, CSS, and JavaScript. This makes theming the UI simple, as adding some extra CSS can change how the UI looks completely. Because Firefox is just a web page, the same web developer tools are available to you that would be available when debugging and working with a regular web page. These tools are called the Browser Toolbox and can be enabled in the Firefox DevTool settings by enable Browser Chrome and add-on toolboxes and remote debugging. It will then appear in the Firefox hamburger menu. You can change a lot by simply changing the CSS of the browser. There has evolved a community around modding Firefox using CSS to make it better suited for the user. Some of my favorites are Flying Fox, a browser skin with vertical tabs, Proton Plus, a theme with small tweaks built on top of Proton to make the browser generally better, and a Chromium-based theme that looks even better than Chrome or macOS. The custom theme I have written is around 100 lines of code, with quite a few comments, and I personally think it's quite good. Speaking of looking good, ads don't look good. Also, Firefox's inbuilt adblocker is a bit garbage, so let's replace it. Currently, the best adblocker on the market is uBlock Origin. It's a wide-spectrum blocker rather than just an adblocker, meaning it also focuses on removing spyware and malware from websites, reducing their size and improving the browser's responsiveness. Rather than simply creating a patch that includes uBlock Origin, I've added the ability to include browser extensions in Melon. Melon will download and set up the extensions listed in melon.json. This works fairly well, apart from my preference that ad blockers should be located to the left of the URL bar. To fix this, we must delve into the browser's source code and modify the default layout for customizable UI. This isn't really that hard and just consists of importing a library for handling extension IDs and adding an action in the correct place in the browser. While we're at it, I think that the reload button should be between the back and forwards button, so I'm going to quickly do that. There's still one final ad we have to remove, Pocket. I've tried removing it using the BetterFox settings customizations, but that did nothing. So I had to remove Pocket from Firefox's default settings. And that sort of removed it, but it was still a buggy mess and the icon was still there. So I went back to the customizable UI and removed Pocket from the default layout, and finally, it was gone. So, that concludes my first devlog on this browser. I'm currently planning to call it Focus Browser, but if you have any better ideas, please feel free to leave them in the comments. If you want more regular updates, then you can join the Discord server linked in the description. And if you want to see what I'm planning next, you can explore the GitHub repository, also linked in the description.